Hello everyone and welcome back to the FRC Historian, where today I'm going to be covering the next segment of this trilogy. After Maze Craze comes everyone's favorite game, Rug Race, which, despite it being the second year, had only 25 teams, the least of any year, and also the only year in FRC history where the number of teams actually decreased. But this was a pretty good game though, called Rug Race. And for those of you who didn't know, this actually had a different location, being at Bishop Gertson High School in Neshow, New Hampshire, where it would be held for another year after this. And the Chairman's Award winner, this is interesting because for those of you who don't know a lot about the Chairman's Award, I do have some videos about it, but the Labsters are the only FRC team that's a Chairman's Award winner that doesn't have a number. Because back in these days, first had a laundry list of sponsors, and your alphabetical tied to one of those sponsors will get you a number. For instance, think of the Juggernauts. They started in 1997, but their sponsor was really hot, was numerical, and thus a team who started in 1997 was given the rank of Team 1, despite not being the first team to exist, which changed after 1999. And now when we look at this, they don't have a number, as well as Team Double Deuce being the only two Hall of Fame teams that no longer exist, which goes to show that if you're a Hall of Fame team, you'll probably last long. And then the champion of this is actually interesting. It's Team 148, the Robo Wranglers, who started in 1993. For instance, they won this championship, and then they just won the 2018 championship, with also 2008. So if you're wondering how long you have to wait for another championship, that's the Robo Wranglers. And it really goes to show that in 1993 they won, and then they won again in 2008 and 2018. So that really goes to show how they can do consistently well year after year. So now let's get into the game of Rug Race. Rug Race was a year where unlike the last one, they lost their corn obsession, and they made a different size field, which was up on a rug, because it was a rug race. And on the mat, your robot would drive. And the same thing, there would be different balls in this game where there was a 13-inch diameter as well as smaller ones filled with water. And there would be 4 gates and 4 teams, and your goal would be to get as many of those balls into your category as possible, with the bigger ones having priority points, with the smaller ones not having as much. And what would happen is, if you were to herd the smaller ones, they'd go through the gate and get in, but the gate was only 11 inches high, whereas the clearance of the bigger red balls were 13 inches, so what you'd have to do is you have to grab them and put them in. This was actually the first year also where defense could be used, where if someone's trying to roll them, you could push them back. Actually, this was the first ever year where there was actually an outstanding defense award at the championship. And let's just really think about it for a second. This is a year where the championship was the only event just like the first one, and yet there were still many teams who did fascinating all the way throughout. 4 teams on the field. You were trying to get those balls into the scoring, and it was overall as well. Even though there were less teams in first, and even less teams recorded in the Blue Alliance that you may not have known of, this was a good second year for first, and it was the year that started off with rugs and having carpeting instead of corn. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something today.